there are a lot of reasons to be excited for this year's Sundance Film Festival. Since Sundance occurs in Utah in winter, I took the advice of festival programmers to recreate the Sundance Film Festival experience in as much ways as possible.
They say it's always freezing in Utah just before the films begin, so I thought I would stay outside for a couple hours and get nice and cold before I go and watch my next Sundance film, just to get the full effect.
I also got my popcorn ready. Anybody else put hot sauce on their popcorn?
Even though this year's Sundance was under a bit more constraint due to COVID-19 restrictions, festival creators embraced the online and virtual world and opened on January 28th with a plethora of films, documentaries, and film shorts programs. But what hit me most at Sundance was that every program, as well as the grand opening of the festival, began with a land acknowledgement to the Ute tribe, as well as to all indigenous people.
And I'd like to acknowledge the Ute tribal nation, the ancestral keepers of the land that Sundance calls home.
The Sundance Film Festival had 7 short film programs, including animation, documentary, shorts, and film shorts. Each of the programs have an average of 8 films, and each program was under 3 hours. At the end of each program was also a Q&A section with the filmmaker. Sundance receives thousands of submissions each year, and they selected 50 to play in their 2021 festival. And yes, I watched all 50 short films. I was excited by my accomplishment, and I also reported my top 10 choices in my Native Nerd column. Among my favorite short films were Bombarak, about a father who takes his daughter on a delivery route for a day, Dear Philadelphia, which explores the lives of a tight-knit black community in Philadelphia, Lata, who is a 23-year-old domestic worker in an upper-class home in South Mumbai, Lizard, which follows a day in the life of Juwan, an 8-year-old girl in Lagos, Nigeria, and a hilariously unsettling experiment of kids working in a fictional business town called The Field Trip, and a gay slam poet's passion for her traditions in Hawaii called This Is the Way We Rise by Native Hawaiian director Sierra Lacey. I then dove into feature films and on Saturday joined the online world premiere of Wild Indian with Michael Greyeyes and Choske Spencer, which was directed by Lyle Mitchell Corbijn Jr., the story of 2 Native boys growing up on a reservation that make an impossible choice, and it turns ugly as both men search for their identity and a way to come to terms with their pasts. The toughest part about the feature films? Deciding what I should watch. I received hundreds of press announcements and had a huge list to pore over on the site. I also had the factor of time. The festival lasted until February 3rd, and I could only watch so many in a few days. I'm human after all. I watched 20 feature films, resulting in 70 films, including the short films, over the course of the festival. Not bad. Films that stick out to me are Rita Moreno, Just a Girl Who Decided to Go For It, a great film about the life of Puerto Rican actress who won the Oscar for her role in West Side Story. But little did I know the intensity and expansiveness of her career. I also loved The Blazing World, a gorgeously done film with fantastic cinematography and a script that walks a tightrope between horror and fantasy. Another standout feature was Judas and the Black Messiah, an incredible film by Shaka King about the story of the civil rights activist and Black Panthers leader, Fred Hampton. Amy Tan, an unintended memoir, was a beautiful feature film about the life of best-selling novelist Amy Tan, directed by the late Jamie Redford, a director with a pure heart and vision that I've had the honor to interview in the past. I also enjoyed Sundance virtually using an Oculus. It was incredible. After taking the tutorial, which included throwing virtual airplanes, a laser machine gun, and shaking hands with the happy dancing robot, I was able to access the virtual events, mixed with a virtual crowd, and more. There's a lot to be excited about in this year's Sundance, especially if you're Indigenous. In Virginia, Vincent Schilling, Indian Country Today.